It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for another double feature Friday, except for today, it's going to be Forgotten Gialli Friday, because I'm talking about Vinegar Syndrome's Forgotten Gialli Volume 1. I remember when this came out, it was very exciting. And I would say that this box set did not disappoint. So I'm going to show you the artwork. The back side. You can see the movie titles there, and then the top. I think this one is my favorite artwork, mostly because of this. And I'm not sure if this was intentional or not. I like to think that it is, but it did sit on our shelf like this for a while just because, and I liked how it looks like she's decapitated and he was scalped, which is maybe a little bit morbid, but I guess I like what I like. So there you go. There's a straight razor. This side just has blood dripping down. All right, so let's get into the films. I think that I liked all three of these films pretty equally. I would say Trauma was my favorite, but only by a small margin. And then probably The Killers 1 of 13 would be kind of my least favorite of the three, but I really like them all. They all kind of have a similar like feel or tone to them, where they feel very self-contained and the story is kind of small. It's not very sensational. And as far as Gialli go, yeah, like you're spending a lot of time in Trauma at the bed and breakfast or hotel that they're running out of their house. Police are blundering in the dark. Takes place mostly in a home, like a country home. And same with The Killers 1 of 13. So it's kind of fun that way. And what I learned was Trauma and The Killers 1 of 13, these two films are both actually Spanish Gialli. They are not Italian, which is interesting as a first release of Forgotten Gialli, because although I'm not saying that they're not Gialli or they can't be considered Gialli because they're Spanish, just traditionally you think of Gialli as being Italian. Yeah, so anyways, let's get into it. Trauma. So Trauma was released in 1978 and it was directed by Leon Klimovsky. Sorry. It stars Agatha Lees, who I think is great in this film. She plays the woman who runs the bed and breakfast hotel. It seems like she's in an abusive relationship. I'm not going to give any spoilers. This is a very sort of Hitchcockian film, and I really enjoyed it. The story is pretty simple. There are some good kills, I guess, like nothing too spectacular. There's some nudity. So the story kind of follows this writer, Daniel, who comes to stay at the hotel. He's trying to get over his writer's block or work on a book, but I think it's pretty clear that he's also trying to kind of get away from his wife. So they're experiencing some difficulties in their relationship. I'm not going to give away maybe what it is. And he comes to this hotel in the countryside to kind of get away from her and their problems. And he meets, obviously, Veronica, played by Agatha Lees, and they seem to kind of hit it off. They don't really, no relationship really starts, but she seems really interested in his career as a writer, and she goes out of her way to tell him that she doesn't really know how to read, or she didn't learn until she got married. And yeah, it's kind of interesting, but nothing happens between the two of them. Like I said, I don't want to spoil this film. It's not like you can't see the twist coming. I think it's pretty well telegraphed what the twist is going to be. I mean, maybe if you haven't really seen any other films, you would be surprised at the twist, but I think it was pretty well telegraphed. But that being said, I still really liked the whole film and the story, and I thought it was kind of nice and just simple. You didn't really have to suspend your disbelief like in some Gialli, and although I do like that, I think every once in a while it's nice to have kind of the simpler plot that's easy to follow. These ones don't have alternate artwork, it's just some fun blood drips on the inside. There's some fun special features. So I watched this with the commentary track with cult cinema author Troy Howarth. And then there's also promotional image gallery, English subtitles, newly scanned and restored in 2K from its original 35mm negative. It looked great. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I like this film. I would say check it out. Okay, then the next one in the set is probably one of my favorite Gialli titles ever. There's so many good ones, but Police Are Blundering in the Dark. This is a story, it's about models and a photographer, and a lot of young sexy models are being murdered, unfortunately. It seems like it's connected to this house and this photographer. What happens is a woman goes to this photographer to be model for a photo shoot, and on her way home her car broke down and it was stormy out. So she stopped at this little hotel in a village and calls her boyfriend to ask him for help. He's kind of a jerk in true Gialli fashion and says, not right now, you figure it out. She stays overnight in the hotel. I'm using that word so loosely. It was like a room in a bar. And she ends up being murdered. So he doesn't hear from her the next day and he comes looking for her. He finds her car and thinks something is up, rightfully so, and then goes to the photographer's house where she last was seen alive. And there he just hangs out with this weird family or group of people to try to find out what happened to his girlfriend. He is a journalist, so in true Gialli fashion as well, all these murders are being investigated by just this journalist. There's no police involvement at all until the very end. The twist is less telegraphed, I would say. It's like less formulaic. So for me, it was a lot harder to sort of see the end. This is also a fun film. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I think it does feel a bit longer. The runtime is 87 minutes, and I would say it feels a bit longer than that. It feels like you spent a lot of time with the journalist in this family's house for whatever reason. He ends up staying over. It feels like he's there for like a week trying to figure out what happened to his girlfriend. To me, that felt a little bit draggy, but you know, it's not anything crazy. This was released originally in 1975 and directed by one-time director Helia Colombo. I did watch the special feature on this disc as well. It is not an audio commentary. It is a historical audio essay by Rachel Nesbitt, who also, by the way, has an amazing Gialli-related podcast called Fragments of Fear. It's a great podcast. So if you're into Gialli and you want to hear more more in-depth and a way more researched and thoughtful conversation about Gialli, listen to Fragments of Fear. It is very good and you will not be disappointed. The other special features on this disc are just a promotional image gallery, English subtitles, and it's a newly scanned and restored from the original 35mm negative in 2K. So that's The Police Are Blundering in the Dark. It's fun. I would say check this one out too. This whole box set is fun. I'm not sure if it's still available, but if you can get your hands on it, or if you can find versions of these films, I would say they're worth checking out. Now we're at the last one. The Killer is One of 13. Like I said, this one was kind of, I still enjoyed it, but I would say that this was kind of my least favorite one for the sole reason that there are a lot of characters introduced in this film, and then there's this very long exposition scene, which is very well done, but in my opinion, it's kind of hard to follow for me. I don't know if other people would have that issue. One woman has invited a group of people over to her house because her husband was murdered, and she thinks it was one of these people that murdered her husband. So they all show up at the house. They don't really know what's going on, and then the first night they all get together to have a nice dinner, and she lays out her reasons why she thinks any of these people could have killed her husband. Like I said, it's really well done. I just find when there's a lot of characters, I have a hard time following who they're talking about and how they're related to each other. And even though people are like married or there's couples, they're not always sleeping in the same room or same beds, and then there's some like infidelity type stuff going on. So it's, for me, it was really confusing. Who's with who did what. Why would this person be accused of? I couldn't follow all the specific plot details. It is fun. So it's set in the countryside at like a villa. This is also a Spanish gialli, not Italian. And I think also they're trying to make it look like the English countryside, and they're using a lot of like English, you know, talking about money and pounds and things like that. I wouldn't say it specifically looks like the English countryside, but it is like a nice countryside manor. I do like all the wardrobe. I think it's kind of fun. It's a good example of like 70s, and kind of like you can tell that these people are supposed to be well off. This woman who's hosting the party, her aunt is at the party as well. I don't know if she just lives in this house or if she came to help, and her son. And they seem to have a really weird incestuous relationship that's actually, I wouldn't normally say this, but it's kind of a fun detail, weirdly. I don't want to give anything away. I will say this. Pretty much the first hour of this film is exposition and talking and getting to know the characters a bit better, and the dynamics and sort of like the struggles that people are having within their relationships and things like that. And there's no killing, no murders until you're pretty much an hour into the film. And this film is 95 minutes long. So it's pretty crazy to sit through an hour, and then the last 20 minutes, there's kill after kill after kill. And then the movie wraps up. It'd be nice if the killing kind of started earlier. The kills aren't too sensational, but they're good. This movie is good. I recommend it. It's still fun. So this was originally released in 1973, directed by Javier Aguirre. Sorry. It does star some bigger names. So Patty Shepard, Simone Andrew, Jose Maria Prada, Jack Taylor, and Paul Naschy. There are some special features. So I watched this with a commentary by Kat Ellinger, which was super informative. She did talk about the movie a lot, but it was like also pretty comprehensive conversation about gialli in general, and a lot about the actors and other roles that they had, and kind of going into their history and talking about the director and his history in film. And I thought it was really informative. It wasn't so much like, normally when I watch a commentary, I kind of expect it to be just information talking about the film that we're watching, but this was way more comprehensive. Very interesting. And then also this one has a promotional image gallery, English subtitles, and it's a newly scanned and restored in 2K from 35mm negative as well. I would say check this out. They're all very good. They're all very fun. This is a great box set. It was a great way to kick off Vinegar Syndrome's Forgotten Gialli series, and currently we're at 3 volumes. I really hope that they release more, because they include a lot of fun films that I don't think would get decent releases otherwise. So it's really nice to have these films on Blu-ray, and you know, they look great. They sound great. I can't complain about having had to watch them for a second time. It was really fun. I really enjoyed this viewing as maybe even more than the first time I saw them. If you have a chance to get your hands on this box set or even just these films individually, I say go for it. They're worth a watch, especially if you like Gialli. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So that's all for me for this week. Thanks so much for watching this video. Bye for now.